welcome to another episode of the Tapestry podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Froswá Drew, and I am excited to introduce you to a remarkable woman, Kim Roxie. During her time in college, Kim worked as a makeup artist at the mall. She loved helping women discover their natural beauty, felt a calling to work in the beauty industry, and dreamed of creating a makeup line. But when she researched the ingredients used to make the products, she was appalled. After revealing to her mom that she was going to create a makeup line as her next career steps, her mother gave her $500 and her blessing. In 2004, LAMIK started as a local makeup shop in Houston, Texas, where women would come to get their makeup and eyebrows done. They began selling products made by hand, and soon LAMIK was much more than a place. LAMIK became a community where women knew they belonged. After Kim's mom and first investor passed in 2014, it became her mission to give women of color access to safe, natural beauty products. She knew she had to get paraben-free makeup to every woman who wears makeup routinely. LAMIK is a health and wellness brand just as much as a beauty company. In 2018, Kim closed her makeup shop and focused on the solution: clean color cosmetics for women who historically have been marketed more toxic makeup options than their counterparts. LAMIK 2.0 launched in March of 2020, e-commerce. When LAMIK was first created, the name was nothing more than Kim's name spelled backward with la prefix from her middle name. And now LAMIK is an acronym for love and makeup and kindness. Kim, thank you for being on the show. I'm excited to have you with us.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So I got a chance to meet you at a couple of places. The first place was you were at Thana Simmons' event, and you were the keynote speaker, and you were dynamic, and I was so impressed with you. And then I saw you at the Moore Awards. And since that time, I was like, I got to keep in touch with this lady. And there are not a lot of people that I see at events that I'm like, I want to know them. And so I want you to tell the story of how you got started, because I know your beginnings, but I'd love for the audience to hear your story, because who you are now probably would make people go, how did she get to this place from where she started, especially as a high school student? So tell us about your journey.
Yeah, my journey, it started at 16 years old, I say, when I was kicked out of high school. And that was, to me, like the lowest point of my life that I knew of as a teenager, as a young adult, going into being a young adult. And I went to school. I got in trouble really for the first time, really badly. And then I was expelled. And I just thought my whole world was going to crumble down. But that was the place where I just sort of hit rock bottom. My parents fought for me to be able to at least go to some type of school. So they let me go to an alternative school. The school district did. And so I went to an alternative school. And there is where, I got met with the words that I was labeled at risk, that I was probably not going to be able to be accepted into a reputable college, that, I'm less likely to succeed, if you put it that way. That's what they told me at risk mean. And so I remember when I was in that alternative school, one of my teachers, she saw how upset I was and how much I had an attitude about having to come there. And she said, why don't you just write down your 1-year goal and your 5-year goal? And I wrote down my 1-year goal that I just wanted to be accepted into college. And I particularly said my dream school, Clark Atlanta University. And that my 5-year goal was just to be successful. And fast forward a year later, I was accepted into my dream school because I still applied for Clark Atlanta University, even though people told me I was not going to get accepted. I got accepted. I went there And that's where I started working at a makeup counter just as like a part-time job, like just something to do, like something to pay my rent, pay my car note, put gas in my car, like help out so I could be in college because my parents really couldn't afford all of the expenses for me to be there. Um, and so I started there and working at that makeup counter, I actually fell in love with making women feel good about themselves. And that started my journey into the beauty industry. And 5 years later, I was taking out a lease in the mall to open up my own makeup shop.
So talk about, because I remember you telling that story and I was like, wow, that's so inspirational because most people don't see how someone can be in an alternative school and still have the potential to become a major businesswoman. I want you to talk about, I remember a story when you were talking about the women who were coming to the makeup stand and some of the comments they were making to you about the makeup and how you were transforming their lives, not just with the makeup, but just with the connections that you were making. Share more about that, Kim.
Yeah, what I realized is something that has kind of turned into our mantra, and that is beauty is revealed, not applied. And first of all, I didn't start off as the best makeup artist. Remember, I just got this job the same way you get a job at Foot Locker or something. That's how I worked at the makeup counter. When I opened up my own store, I'm taking out a lease in the mall. I'm 21 years old, getting ready to turn 22. Nobody gave me approval to do that. Nobody told me, I didn't have the credentials or what have you. So you got to remember that for me, it wasn't about like, oh, I do it so well, that's going to qualify me. It was no, I know how to make people feel good. And that connection is enough to make them become a consumer and want to consume what I am distributing. And that's what happened. I used to go to the food court to get people to come down to my store because I had nobody walking inside of my store. Nobody had ever heard of our store. Nobody had ever saw us do anything. We didn't have a reputation yet. So I had to go down to the food court and I would walk people down to my store. But along that way, I would ask them about their family and how they were doing, how was their day, questions and things that probably people were not asking them with a whole lot of care because we go through this world so fast sometimes. But that sort of connection and that sort of like curiosity about them really made for a connection to happen. And then by the time I get done, they'll get their makeup done, they'll get their eyebrows done, all that would happen. And then all of a sudden, I got a business going here. I'm starting to build up a clientele. And so I would just say that, a lot of what we do has to do with the fact of just letting a person know that they're seen. Mm. You're seen. I see you. I care about you. That's what this is all about. And to me, when you let someone know that, their beauty is revealed because now I will show up fully. Now I know that someone sees me, someone believes in me, whatever the case might be. I'm going to reveal more of who I am. And that's the beauty of who you are.
That's huge. Your mom played a huge role in your life because even with you going to alternative school, your mama never stopped believing in you.
Never.
And your mom gave you the start of your business and was an encourager for you. Talk about your mom and the legacy of your mother and her being your first investor. How did that come about?
So my mom and dad really were patient with me. I must say, my mom, she never talked down to me. My dad never talked down to me as far as, when I got kicked out of high school and all that. They showed a great amount of patience. And so when I got to school and then I figured out I wanted to start this business, I told my mom, and And I was telling her I'm saving up my money to open up this makeup shop. And she gave me $500. And my mom loved makeup. So to be honest, this was a little bit of a dream come true for her. This was a little bit of like ooh, we opening up a makeup shop like that. My mom loved makeup, like never left the house without it on. Even her sister, her cousins, everybody were like, this is, oh my God, Kim, you doing what she would have done if she had the opportunity. And so that's what I was able to do. So when she gave me that $500 to me, that was just like all the belief. And then, we went full throttle. And I know that my mom passed at 62 years old from metastatic breast cancer. And I know that for a fact, her dreams did come true. That, in her life, she would have, if she would have wanted a makeup business, and that's what she got. That's what she got through me. And so I just am so grateful because without my mom's sort of that $500 seed, things wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have been the same. That $500 was a game changer in the big picture of what happened.
That's awesome to have your mom believe in you in that way. I think for business owners to be successful, you have to have that kind of safety net of support. And you have to have a community to do that. As a Black woman in business, I know you've seen a lot of other people not have that kind of support and investment. And so talk to me about some of the challenges that you've had in this space, because we know, the dollar amounts that, and what data has said about Black women not getting the investment to be able to start businesses. And by having your mom, you said that was a game changer. But what are some of the other things that you've come up against to be able to have the success that you've had?
Yeah. So starting out, when I had my makeup shop and I was more of a small business, I wasn't really looking at big investments and things like that. But in 2018, when I decided to close my makeup shop and really focus in on the makeup line itself, because 75% of beauty products marketed to women of color are toxic. And because my mom passed from metastatic breast cancer, my mom loved makeup. That statistic, and then putting together my personal story of my best friend, my mom passing, and I know she loved makeup. I said, look, I want to create a solution, a makeup product that I would have wanted my mom to have, that I would want every woman to have access to, regardless of her skin tone and her complexion. And so in 2018, I started building on this makeup brand just itself. And we launched March 2020 with just the makeup line online. Now, when you start to get into that category of building like a high growth makeup company, a makeup line like this, competing against all of the huge conglomerate brands out there, you need funding. You need money. You need a lot to compete in the marketplace. And so when the challenge that I started to have, because I did not know, I was ignorant to the fact of how less funding Black women get. So when a Black woman has a company that she wants to get off the ground, she's looking for venture capital. On average, she raises about $36,000. It could be a white male with the same exact idea, same exact type of business, going out to raise money. On average, he'll raise $1.2 million.
The disparity.
Yes. So the disparity is so huge. And so then we know that the equity is off, right? And so I was ignorant to this when I was going out to, raise money and figuring out my company. And so when I kept getting so many no's and sort of, all of that, I started to understand and get around other founders and other investors and get around the community and the ecosystem. And it was like, oh, this is the data, this is the research, this is the facts that's out there. I was like, oh, whoa. And so just coming up against that, I decided that I would sort of take this information to educated women I knew who wanted to have clean, non-toxic makeup. And so I took this information to them and told them what I just told you about the disparity. And I launched a campaign right before coming out with the makeup line itself in March 2020. I launched a campaign at the end of 2019 on iFund Women, and I raised $50,000 in a month to pay for our initial expenses when it came to launching the brand. And then later, I went on to win two grants from American Express, $25,000 each. I went on to win a grant from Stacy's and PepsiCo, went on to win a grant from Her Impact Ventures, and Black Girl Ventures, went on to raise grants and non-dilutive funding to really get LAMIK, sort of in the marketplace and competing on the level like we are now. And now we have investors that are looking at us now in a totally different way because of all of the traction and the things that we've been able to accomplish. But the challenge has definitely, been having the capital to really compete in the marketplace.
And that's a significant issue that, it, even with the money that you've raised, which is incredible, it's still not enough compared to what, and the fact that you're having to go through all of these different grant programs and still run the business while you're doing all of that.
Exactly.
is just a lot.
It is. And to be honest, it is, in a way, it can be distracting, right? Where some people, all they get to do is concentrate and focus in on their business. And I literally have to multitask it all, because just to get funding, I have to participate in these different things. You have to sort of do the song and dance. You have to be, you have to be a great speaker. You have to be ready to perform. I mean, all these different things that you have to, brush up on and have skills in, when someone else can just start the business and just concentrate on that.
And you hear the data about how small businesses in 3 years close, and it's not taken into account. That's typically why, is because of all of the stuff that you have to do to get capital and the distractions to be able to stay in business. You can't.
Exactly. And most cannot manage. Because, to a certain extent, some of this, can weigh on your mental health, right? It can weigh on you really have a great solution. You're trying to work on a business, then you're trying to manage, having a team and things like that go into that. But being sort of skimpy on resources, then makes you very vulnerable. And so, yeah, I've had to do that. Some of the ways I've gotten around it is including my customers in on the journey. And I'm very transparent about what this journey looks like. What is it taking to build this business? The reason why we don't have 100 different products, well, because it takes this much to launch a product. Like I'm that transparent with our customers. I show them, where we manufacture our products. Our chemists, we have certain minimums we have to reach just to be able to produce. I show them, like, when something goes well, what happens, but then also the downside to things too. And so that, I believe, also is seeding a better consumer, because it's making that our consumers more conscious. So their expectations or the way they buy, maybe more consciously versus just out of convenience, but just buying from a place to where I'm going to use my money, my purchases to actually build a business, versus just buying out of convenience from anybody or anything. So that's the way that we've been able to do it as well, because I believe we deserve it. I believe we need the products. They're necessary, but I have to be transparent for my own mental health, just because, I have to share some of the weight of what we are tasked with.
I bet you have learned so much in going through this journey. What would you tell yourself, the girl who was in the alternative school? What lessons would you tell her that you've learned in going through this journey? Because I bet there one lessons just in the product alone, because I'm fascinated with just how did you learn about, vegan, products and paraben-free products. There's that lesson, but also the business lessons, but being the woman and navigating all of these different spaces that you've been in. I'd love to just get a glimpse in what you've learned in all of these different spaces and seasons.
Yeah, I would probably tell that girl, though, my younger self that was in alternative school, I probably would tell her, thank you. Thank you for not falling into the pit, right? Not falling into what some of her peers were doing, or falling into maybe, just the pit of depression, or just all those different things. I'm really proud of her. I'm really proud of that young lady. So first I have to tell her, thank you. And then, I would just say that, like, it doesn't, who you are and even the way that you challenge and take risk and all of that, that's actually going to help you, because you're going to be a businesswoman one day, and you're going to need that level of risk. Like, you need to have that risk tolerance that you have. So keep that. Don't ever lose that, because you're going to need it, because you're going to be a business owner. Like I tell her, you're going to be a founder, and you're going to need that level of risk tolerance. And then also that level of faith, because I always had faith since I was a young girl. I was, particularly myself, I was raised in the church. I just always believed that God had me in his hands. And so, I mean, for me, my faith is a big part of how I operate. And so I also, would say that, you might not know anybody like you that's doing what you're doing, but I want you to seek out rooms that you might feel like that you don't belong in. I want you to seek out those rooms. I want you to, understand that you are worthy and you are enough, and you're called, and all of those things. And so seek out those rooms, go out there. And those are some of the things that I would tell her, because, when it comes to me meeting my chemist, I met him on a whim when I went on a trip to New York. He actually touched me and gave me his card, and then come to find out he had just retired from Estee Lauder. Those are the things that are just going to happen in my life. And so I just will remind my younger self that you're destined for greatness. You can't do anything to mess up your greatness. No matter how hard you think, how many mistakes you made, you won't be able to mistake your way out of the destiny that's on your life.
Amen. Amen. So one of the things that I love about you, in addition to many things that I love about you, is you're a philanthropist. Talk about how you give and the things that you do in community, because you do a lot that I'm sure people are not aware of.
Yeah, so community is a big part of me. And philanthropy, again, didn't really know about being a philanthropist till I became one. Till I became an adult and I became one. I started off doing things like sponsoring, a baseball team or a softball team, and started off doing things like that, like in my community. And then it turned into making a lip gloss for a domestic, for a facility that housed domestic violence victims, and making a lip gloss for them and going there to make the lip gloss with them and letting them name it, and them naming the lip gloss, and looking at resilient or what have you. They named it. They and then using that to be able to then give back to that shelter, and then doing things like with the breast cancer, starting to get involved, started hosting an event with my partner in good. I call her Chris Noble. And we started doing events to raise money for uninsured Black women to get mammograms, because Black women are dying at a higher rate from breast cancer than their counterparts. And so looking at the data, looking at the numbers, we started raising money. Since starting in 2014, actually the year my mom passed, we've already raised $500,000.
Wow.
For uninsured Black women. Yay!
That's
to get
awesome.
mammograms and ultrasounds and all of that. And I've helped raise money through a lot of different other organizations for different things. To a certain extent, I don't keep track. Maybe, for me, it's just a part of who I am. I just hosted a huge health fair in Houston that screened about 200 women. And we had all of the health facilities out to take care of the women. And then I just hosted another event this past weekend for an organization called Reconstruction of a Survivor, raising money for them. So raising money and doing those things. I know when we were together at the awards, at the Moore Awards, I actually did the ask for the organization. And I got an email that said that was the highest amount that they had raised in that amount of time after I did that ask. And so I'm just happy that everything I've been through, my story, all of that could still have glory,
Yes.
even, so that's what I just think about. And that's what I'm grateful for. And lastly, I'll share, because you asked me about knowing about vegan products and making it paraben-free and all this stuff. I did like research on Google for me to figure it out. But I actually brought a group of girls. I partnered with an organization called Save a Girl, Save a World. And they're on the campuses of HBCU schools. And so I partnered with them, and we brought a couple girls from my alma mater, Clark Atlanta University. We brought some girls from Bennett College. We brought some girls from North Carolina A&T University to Houston to come learn about what it takes to become a cosmetic chemist. Mm-hmm. And so when you talk about like ingredients and things like that, I didn't have access to that back when I was in school and didn't know any programs that did that. But we created this program, and now we'll be doing it annually, but we just brought them here. And they made their own lip glosses, their own facial moisturizers in the lab with the chemists. They learned the whole supply chain, the manufacturing part of it, how things work. They actually worked on a line for a manufacturer and putting the component together with the product and everything. Wow. And so those are the kind of things that we're doing to help really bridge the gap for their younger Kim who didn't have access to things like that.
You are remarkable. I started the program saying that you are remarkable. The fact that you give so much of yourself is just truly a blessing. And I thank God for who you are and what you do and how personable you are. You are just a gift. In our closing moments, I want folks to know, how do they purchase your product? How do they connect to you? Because I want folks, as you give, I want them to give to you. So how can they get connected and learn more about your product and where to get it?
So they can learn more about our product by going to lamikbeauty.com. That's LAMIK beauty.com. You can go there. If you go on our website for the first time, you actually get a 15% off, sort of like coupon. So you can go there and take advantage advantage of that. It'll tell you all about our products. If you're on social media, go to @LAMIK Beauty, LAMIK Beauty. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, LinkedIn, X, formerly Twitter, and Facebook. And then also, if you like to use your points and you're an Ulta shopper, we're on Ulta.com. If you are an HSN person and you like to watch that, we're definitely on hsn.com. And I know you're based out of Dallas, Doctor, and so they can go to jcpenney.com, and our products are available on there as well. So please, please, please go check out LAMIK Beauty. I recommend trying the Revelation Brow Duo because your brows frame 75% of your face. So I recommend this little guy right here. This is what I live and breathe by this. This is a brow powder with a concealer, and I put it on my eyebrows every day.
I love it. My mother loves your product. She loves your stuff. So I just want to give you a shout out. So shout out, because my mother loves makeup. So Kim, thank you for what you do and who you are. I appreciate you. And so y'all, please support this amazing woman and the great work that she's doing to make a difference in our health and in our communities. And so this is another episode of the Tapestry Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Froswá Booker Drew, and thanks for tuning in.